Hopefully. Yeah, we're live. I can see us live on the YouTube. So if you're with us, join us, ask us some questions. Dan and I are here post game. So Dan, I liked what I saw today. I thought it was the pace of the game was really funky. Akron did a good job of just trying to keep our offense off the field. I felt like they were just running a play clock down. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, hold on a second. I'm trying to see if I can find the chat. Okay, there we go. It's first game, right? I mean,
Yep.
I jumped into a spaces at halftime, and I was really shocked at like how positive everyone was, and I was like, so there's just like no concerns after the first half of the first game of the year, like, and I kind of got lit up because I was talking about the offensive line, and I kind of stand on that in the sense that a lot of people were making excuses that, Donnie's not in there and this and that. But the reality is Donnie hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. So
Right.
Austin, Saraveld, he's been repping with the ones for 2 weeks now. And Tegra, it sounds like, has been repping with the ones for the most part for at least the last 2 weeks. So listen, I think you chalk it up to some first game jitters, some things that, I was watching that I need to go back and watch again.
Yep.
I don't think our tight ends are blocking yet. I've got to go back and look at Will Kazmarek, but I know that there were 3 or 4 plays where, G just seemed almost uninterested and unwilling to participate in the blocking game.
Disinterested. Yeah.
Yeah, disinterested a little bit. It was a little, the run game was a little, underwhelming in the first half. I would have thought that the pass game would have struggled a little bit more at the beginning of the year compared to the run game. The run game's kind of the bread and butter. But for all of that being said, the second half I thought was a much better representation. I mean, and so let's talk about Will. I think he was like 10 of 21 for 100 and some low 100 yards in the first half. But in the second, but to his credit, he was on point with almost all of his throws. I mean, I can't think of a really bad throw he made that one silly decision trying to lateral that ball to Trey, but that's just trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
But in the second half, he was 7 for 7, and they let him, take some shots, which was nice. There's a lot of things you got to consider in the first game of the year, first half, the playbook's vanilla, all that. I guess the thing that I was just disappointed in the first half, it just seemed like it was a lackluster effort by the offensive line. But, I was a little surprised we didn't get the offense, we didn't get them off the field sooner on a few drives. But, it's first game of the year.
Yep. I thought they came out kind of sleepwalking too. I feel like they maybe thought they had this in the bag, and we've seen this before. This is not uncommon.
Yeah, which they did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, certainly they did. Absolutely. I don't know really what else to say about that. I agree with you 100% about the blocking. I thought that overall, I thought they did okay, but it was a very vanilla offense today. It was, basically their base package. There was a couple plays where I did notice that they faked a handoff from Bryson Rogers on the one. If they would have given the ball to Bryson Rogers on the end, like he would have housed it. There was nobody over there.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of those plays. I kind of jumped through a few of my notes.
The second play of the game, if JJ had caught that pass, he would have taken it to the house.
Oh yeah, there was nobody in front of him.
I mean, it was perfectly, set up for him to just catch that ball and run down the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Obviously he had some jitters. He did a nice job of bouncing back. I think JJ Smith, I think it's safe to say, is he's going to be halfway decent for us.
Yeah,
the kid's okay at football.
Yeah, that deep shot from Will Howard where he caught it one-handed with, a 40-yard pass, one-handed with his other arm pinned against him. Yeah.
That ball traveled 50 yards in the air. That was a nice ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Will played it well overall. I do think that I'm interested to get your take. I want to ask you about Cody Simon being out and the fact that they slid Sonny over to Mike, and then CJ Hicks started the game at will. So give me your take on that. I thought Sonny played well, being the green dot, did it. Like he's athletic enough to do that, but I could sense with the defense in particular early that they missed Cody Simons back there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we saw today why CJ isn't starting and hasn't cracked the starting lineup at this point in his career. I mean, the kid has all the talent in the world. He's very athletic. When he's allowed to just go, he's great. But when he's asked to do his job, I think he's a step slow. It's not natural to him yet. I'll tell you who was great. I thought Arvell was fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, his sideline to sideline speed is great. I think the defense played a solid game. Like I said, there's a couple things there where they didn't let the kids off the field. To Joe Mohard's credit, he was doing some, funky stuff. I like to call it street ball.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was all right. Going back to Will, I'll tell you this right now: if we had that version of Will Howard last year, we would have been national champs.
Yeah, there was a couple plays that I looked at and I thought, gosh, man, if McCord could have done that last year. There was one where the one play broke down and he kind of, turned his body this way and then turned his body that way and broke off a 12 or 15 yard run and got downfield. And then he made another play where, just that quarterback power, just the ability, like it really was a quarterback power too.
Yeah.
He followed Q into the hole. And
he actually stumbled on that. I think he could have got another 10 or 15 yards. I think he was expecting to get hit.
Yeah. And
like
so
you can tell he lowered his shoulder anticipating a hit and nobody was there. And he kind of like stumbled forward and kept his feet for 5 more yards.
I don't give a lot of credence to Brad Nessler because he drives me absolutely crazy as an announcer just because he's such a SEC homer. But he kind of said that too. Like if Ohio State had Will Howard's running ability last year and that they had been missing it in their offense since, Ryan Day basically told CJ not to run. So since Justin Fields will say, but yeah, I mean, compared to Honda, I thought Will played well. I mean, he had a couple passes that were dropped that really just should have been caught. And then I want to get your take on Brandon Ennis on punt returns too.
Yeah. So going back to Will really quick, I don't think he was sacked, right?
No, I don't think he got sacked.
Yeah. So I can confidently say, and I'll have to go back and watch the game again, but I can confidently say that Kyle would have been sacked or had intentional grounding penalties 3 or 4 times in that game. And I don't want to knock on the kid. It looks like he had a nice stat line this afternoon, but just from a mobility standpoint, like it is what it is. We sorely missed that mobility in the pocket that we saw today last year, and it cost us a surprisingly, special season last year.
Yeah, I want to stay with Will Howard, I guess, and then I'll ask you about Ennis. I'm jumping around in my notes, but the one pass that he threw behind him as he was falling down to Travion Henderson do you think he was just trying to make a play?
He was trying to make a play. That's all. I mean, he'll get lit up in the film session for that and told not to do that. I mean, he was falling down. He didn't want to take a negative, yardage play.
Yeah.
He was trying to make something happen. I mean, to Trey's credit, he recognized that was a lateral and jumped on it. I thought the ball was going to bounce up in that kid's bread basket and
too.
He was going to take it the other way.
Yeah, I thought he was going to house that. Okay. I want to ask you, we'll stay on the offense and then I'll get to Brandon Ennis in a second. I was not overly thrilled with Josh Fryer today. He seemed to settle in a little bit, but I don't know if he was pressing, but I also know, he did a pretty good job on Nunnally. I thought it wasn't. I didn't think he
They
got beat a
were
couple times, but it looked like he blocked the wrong guy a couple times too. I don't know if
yeah,
that's just newness with Tegra.
I think there was some miscommunication on the line. Like they weren't handing off slants and stuff like that appropriately. They're gonna have a very honest film session when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Okay.
There just wasn't communication was lacking. And listen, it was Tegra's first start.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't think he's played much at all, let alone started. And it was Servel's first start, right?
Yep.
So if they, like I started out by saying that they've been together for, they've pretty much taken all the reps for 2 weeks. But if they're seeing stuff for the first time that they didn't see in those practices, then there's going to be some hiccups like that.
Well, that's for everybody too. Akron runs a 4-2-5, which is uncommon. It's almost like they're running a nickel all the time.
That's our defense. We run a 4-2-5.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but they were doing some stuff on the line though that maybe we weren't doing. Yeah.
Okay. So I was just so excited about the Brandon Ennis piece, like because he made a couple like heady plays, and you were right about Brandon Ennis being the punt returner, 100%. Like I was kind of like, I mean, I think but when Ryan Day said you feel him out there, man, you could feel him out there today. The one that got over his head and he retreated, went back and still managed to get positive yards, kind of sold me on the deal. There was a couple that I could hear you yelling from Nashville about him fielding the ball at the 5-yard line. Because if that was Ballard, you'd have been all over me.
No, what I don't want to see is fair catches at the 5-yard line.
Okay.
And then one of the balls that he picked up at the 5-yard line, like he picked that up, he saved us from it being downed at the 1. And then made a great play. Brandon Ennis is going to get a couple this year.
Yeah. I thought he had one today, man. I really did.
But he's. I mean, we saw more action back there today than we did all of last season.
Oh yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Ballard had his one kickoff return that he just seemed a little apprehensive on, and then he did feel the ball on the sideline that was about to go out of bounds. So you got my knucklehead text about that.
Yeah. I don't know what that was unless they just told him to catch everything.
I don't, it's just awareness, man. It's just the kids, it's his 4th or 5th year there. Like, I just think that there's some things he just doesn't get.
Yeah. So the much anticipated question about who would start the opening series at running back, it was Travion Henderson. We all knew or expected at least it would be Travion Henderson. I kind of thought they might both be out there in some sort of fashion like the spring game. But and I thought Trey looked good. He looked healthy. He looks like he has his quicks back, and he looks like he's a little thicker. His legs look a little thicker too, to me, at least, in live game action. So it looks like he's probably put on about 5 or 7 pounds of muscle. It doesn't look like he's lost any speed, but he's not.
No, he's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
I was just gonna say Q as advertised. Like he's a bull rusher, I guess. Like he really looked like you could tell he played in the SEC because he's just gonna hit you. If you're coming at him, he's gonna run you over.
Yeah, he's not gonna let 1 or 2 guys bring him down.
No, absolutely.
And he's gonna fight for every yard. Love that running style. I would imagine those two might be a little bit frustrated, certainly in the first half. They probably were used to seeing some bigger holes in practice than they saw today. But everyone got out of there healthy as far as I know, and that's a great first week.
Ben Finley, that poor kid.
Dude, he's a tough kid, man.
Man, I felt for him. I was like,
I thought Jack Sawyer was going to get arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to see the quick pass. If we ever go against a team that does not deploy a quick passing game, those guys are going to eat.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the only reason Jack didn't have 4 or 5 sacks is because they got rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds.
Yeah. So we can transition to the defensive line. Larry rolled a lot of guys today. So I saw Tywan Malone. I saw Cade McDonald. Kenyatta was in there early. Caden Curry was in there early. Mitch Belton was making plays all over the place.
Yeah.
little disappointed in JT Tuimoloau's performance today. Just kind of,
He had a sack and a half.
yeah, still kind of ho-hum, I felt like. But
Yeah.
I figured he'd have like 8.
Well, again, I think
I'm joking. I'm joking. Like that was sarcastic. The whole thing was sarcastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought, they look good. Again, we gotta get teams off the field quicker.
Yeah.
Again, first game of the year. I'm gonna say that over and over here. But we gotta get teams, there's no reason a team like that should have extended drives against us.
Yeah, I was incredibly frustrated by the pace of the game, which I texted you and Juck. Like,
yeah,
it was driving me crazy, but it was purposeful. Like Moorhead had a game plan to keep our offense off the field by like just running the play clock down as low as he could.
Yeah,
I do think it was creative to have both quarterbacks in the game. Like it was a little. Like he obviously knew that he was out talented, and he was being creative.
He was playing street ball. Yeah.
So I thought that was good. A shout out to Gabe Powers for a pick 6. I did not have Gabe Powers with the first pick 6 for Ohio State on my bingo card this year. So that Burke gets a pick, and Lathan Ransom returned a fumble.
Yeah. And then Burke didn't return his for a touchdown, but he did get a pick. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I did. So, but the focus and emphasis on turnovers, you saw Ransom on the one play come up and like punch at the ball. So we're seeing the emphasis on turnovers. A couple other quick hitters I saw when Peoples went down and like kind of dropped the ball at the end of that play and they thought it might be a fumble-ish. Locke was in his ear. Did you see it on the sideline? Oh, and Sam Williams-Dixon was in the next play.
Yep.
So, Locke was all over him. Whether you love it or hate it, I don't really care. I loved it because like, even at the end of the game, when you're up 52-6, it matters. Like those things matter, and they will matter, in the stretch run when we play Oregon, when we play the team up north, when we play the harder games. You can't put the ball on the ground.
Yeah. It's funny. Twitter is wild, man. This is my first season on Twitter. Like I wasn't on Twitter before getting involved with the podcast at the beginning of the year. I've had a Twitter account forever, but I just never went on there.
Yep.
So this is my first season peeking at Twitter throughout the course of a game. Man, it's a wild place. I think that the most absurd one I saw was somebody texted or tweeted after James Peoples' run on his, I think that was that his first carry of the year
with the touchdown?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So that's his first carry of his career, and he scored a touchdown. And somebody tweeted, is Quinshon Judkins really better than James Peoples? After one carry and a 3-yard touchdown run. I had to put my phone down, man. Number one, I learned very quickly that for whatever reason, the Twitter feed was about 10, 15 seconds ahead of the TV feed. So I just put my phone down.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw, I picked it up towards the end. The one that made me laugh out loud was somebody said, Ryan Day's got an uncanny knack for pissing more people off after a 40-point win than anybody in college football.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. Yeah. So about my rules about Twitter, like I don't tweet at players. I don't, all that. Well, I also, during the season, I don't tweet during games. I might retweet something, but I've about 10 years ago, I would say, like it wasn't that long ago. It was the Maryland game that went to overtime, whenever that was. It feels like it was 10 years ago. And I said, oh, well, we're going to like the Under Armour bull crap bowl or something, and sure enough, they come back and win it. And that was when you couldn't edit tweets and stuff like that. And so I took some heat for that. And after that, I decided I'm no longer tweeting during games.
Yeah. Yeah, but all in all, good first game. better second half than the first half, which I guess is really all you can ask for.
Yep.
Little disappointed in the lackluster, um, just vibe.
Yep. Well,
In the
the
first,
stadium wasn't even sold out.
really?
I did
Huh.
it. I don't think the ticket, like, it didn't look full to me the whole game. Like,
Huh.
early it was, but it wasn't
Yeah.
completely full. At least in the C deck when they would pan around, it didn't look like it was full. But that
Yeah.
might have been Akron's allotment of seats too, because they were pushing the alumni tickets really, really hard. I think I got like 3 emails a day for the last 6 weeks or something about alumni tickets for the Buckeye game. So
Yeah. So my biggest concern, looking at the landscape, I'm not sure how much we're going to be tested prior to Oregon.
I agree.
I mean, Michigan State looked god awful last night. Obviously our first 3 games are what they are. Iowa did put up 40 points. I gotta. I don't know who they played. Was it Illinois State? Maybe.
Yeah, Indiana State maybe. That sounds
No,
right.
Purdue was playing Indiana State.
That's right. Purdue was played.
They were taking their lunch money. But I mean, Iowa won 40-0, which is really interesting. Obviously they've got a really, really good defense again, and then they did score a first quarter touchdown, which is
Cade
new to them.
McNamara, one of the touchdowns, he basically was falling down, and threw it up as if he was like throwing a half court shot, and the guy jumped up and landed in the end zone magically. There were 4 defenders there.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of the plays that they did score on. They hit a big run around the end. I mean, it is what it is. They did score 40, but it wasn't like, I don't feel like it was a dominating effort other than their defense.
Yeah. So, that Oregon game, October 12th, that's going to be really interesting to see how much we improve on our own between now and then. And then, also probably a little bit of a different game plan.
Yep. Agreed.
I need to see them allow Will to take shots downfield and get in sync with, what he's seeing and throwing into windows and all that other kind of stuff, because we're going to need to do that against Oregon.
Yeah. So my top 2 takeaways today were, the offensive line needs to be play better and more in sync, but we obviously know that, they had the hand, foot, and mouth disease that went around. We know that there were, like, they just haven't been able to practice together a lot. And then my other takeaway is that secondary is as advertised. Man, they just locked down those receivers. There was nowhere really to throw the football. Ransom got beat by that play fake where the tight end snuck behind him because he got a little nosy. But
yeah,
that's not the first time we've seen that. So
yeah, the one other thing that just is kind of random is that, especially in the first half, like, I almost never saw Caleb Downs on the screen. I don't know if they had him playing deep or what, but he was very rarely was he on the screen. Yeah.
He got credit for a sack on a blitz.
Was that in the first half?
I felt like it was right at the end of the second quarter, but
yeah.
Here, I can go through my notes. We don't have to do that, but I noted that he got, I thought, I was like, why is Caleb Downs getting credit for that sack? But no, that was second half. It was in the second half.
I'll be interested to see if anybody asks at the post-game presser how much time Sonny had in the middle.
Yeah. We have about 3 minutes before that, by the way.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know if this was like a 24 to 48 hour thing where he learned he was going to have to play in the middle, and if that maybe had him playing a little slower than he normally would. Nobody that I know, as of last night, knew that Cody wasn't playing. I started to get murmurs about it like late yesterday afternoon, early evening in one of my chat groups, and the folks that I know I reached out to, and none of them knew about it. And then, sure enough, it was announced, with the availability report.
Yeah. I woke up this morning to about 4 texts from friends asking, like, hey, do you know what's happening with Cody Simon? And the only person I knew that was 50-50 was Donnie. So
yeah, and Donnie was out there, warmed up, and I think he even dressed.
He could have went. That was all indications where he could have went.
Yeah, I mean he dressed.
Yeah, but why?
Yeah, no, you don't want to rush that.
No, we've seen rushed hamstring injuries before.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play again next week, knowing that there's a bye.
Yeah, get him healthy, be ready for midseason. Bring him back, let him get warmed up against Marshall, and then we'll go from there. But overall, good win for Ohio State when they felt like they were basically in control the whole time. Kudos to Akron's defense in the first half. They played their tails off. And man, I got to tell you, well, I'll say it one more time. Ben Finley, dude, you're a rock star, man. Like the beating you took, I felt bad for him, man. But
not a very good quarterback, but he's a tough kid.
Yeah, tough kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and his teammates, after seeing that, I'm sure, they got to rally behind him.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dan. Any final thoughts, man? Your two takeaways?
That's it.
Other than you shouldn't have bet the 14 in the first half.
Yeah, no, that's why I stopped gambling years ago.
Yeah.
I was 0-2. So I don't even know if I want to do it anymore. It's just so unenjoyable to me. I just thought it'd be fun, and then it reminded me why I stopped years ago.
All right. Well, not really any questions in the chat, so we'll jump off for the presser, and we'll be back with you guys on Tuesday. Thanks for listening. Next time, really, don't be afraid to ask us questions. We'll answer them.
Yep.
Not a problem. But you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Buckeyes win in easy fashion after jumping up early in the second half. So you guys, we'll see you on Tuesday for our regular best damn pod in the land. Dan,
all right.
Any words?
That's it, man. Best part about going 1-0.
Yeah,
it's a chance to go 2-0.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy your Labor Day. See you guys. Go Bucks.